Hello, I'm John, and I would like to share my selected, opinionated, and very condensed thoughts on motivating and managing people in an organization. If you would like to discuss these topics in more detail, I am eager to engage and elaborate, but here is the short and spicy version. So, in my opinion, motivating people to do difficult things is less about what you're doing today, but more about what you have been doing the last 6 months. It is a long-term game with extreme compounding effects over time, for better or worse. Which means your most valuable efforts to motivate people will be the foundations that you're able to build. And while features are important and also attractive, at least 80% of your effort should be directed at foundational work. If you get the culture right, the right processes emerge organically. Get it wrong, and every motivational effort becomes an uphill fight, and alignment and efficiency becomes esoteric pipe dreams. So, the foundations for motivation are trust, mastery, and commonality. The first two address individual needs, while the last one addresses group needs. Let's talk about them. Trust. This is where we create the basic physical and mental requirements for motivation to thrive. Your first effort and my choice for best long-term value is to get all the boring stuff in perfect order. It's actually one of the only areas in business where I believe a zero tolerance policy towards mistakes is worthwhile having. So what is the boring stuff? It's making sure their workspaces, digital and analog, are safe to work in every sense. Make sure salaries are always paid on time and on the dollar. Make sure that holidays are real, not just nice hypothetical. That we actually want individuals to go and rejuvenate themselves on holidays so we as an organization can get more value out of them. Make every HR and administration mistake an opportunity to rehearse emergency procedures, where we fix these errors in minutes and seconds instead of days and hours. By making sure all this boring stuff approaches perfection, you are actually communicating your trustworthiness as an organization on a very primal and intuitive level. Over time, this becomes an unassailable foundation for trust and will increasingly save you time and money on prevented risks and better efficiency down the line. Get all the boring stuff in perfect order, and you create trust on a very primal level. Now, let's talk about mastery, or as I like to say, allowing for mastery. Allow people to become really, really good at what they do, and they will become really, really happy about doing what they do. This means allowing them to make mistakes and turning those mistakes into shame-free opportunities for everyone to learn from. It means letting them influence and ultimately control how they work. It means always listening to them really carefully. Because although you might have an overview, a bird's eye view, they are much closer to the issues than you are. So, helping people achieve mastery is less about sending them on expensive educational courses and more about creating the right environmental circumstances. And the perfect environment for achieving mastery consists of autonomy combined with timely and useful feedback. Now, people who actually feel that they are achieving mastery at their work, that they are on a journey to become masters at what they do, they feel an intrinsic and deep bond with their work that will outlast any challenge that they will encounter within the organization. On the other hand, if you instead micromanage people, robbing people of their autonomy and their ability to achieve mastery, you will in the end fail at cultivating great people. Allow for mastery in your organization, and your organization will be filled with great people. The last pillar of motivation, in my opinion, of course, is commonality. This is where we address the group needs for motivation. So, being part of a group is a very primal thing, but it is also sometimes a very complicated thing. It can, on one hand, give us support and be our safe space, but groups can also bully us and be our prison, figuratively and literally. In most of history, both effects, the carrot and the stick, have had strong evolutionary merits. Both were needed to reach where we are today. But in a contemporary company trying to achieve greatness that is beyond just survival and genetic evolution, the former carrot is orders of magnitude more important than the latter, the stick. As such, creating a functional group structure that supports its members and their missions is absolutely critical for success. A very popular way, not necessarily the right way, but a very popular way of achieving success in groups is by creating rules, or rather constantly introducing new rules as new problems arise. More problems, more rules. Rules can be implemented quickly and relatively cheaply today. And it can give management a sort of absolvement from the consequences of those problems. Well, we already created these rules, so whatever consequences there are is definitely not our fault. But this method of constantly introducing new rules, alluring as it is, or attractive as it is, it rarely works. And most often, it's due to a failure to recognize and differentiate between symptoms and root causes. So most rules created in this method, as is the norm, not just in business, but in public management as well, these rules will almost exclusively address symptoms rather than root causes, and are thus unlikely to solve the root causes, as they are not the focus of the rules. And as an extra added benefit, now you've also added an extra layer of complexity to an already non-trivial challenge in your organization. An effective way, in my opinion, to create success in groups is by creating commonality, a shared concept of what defines the group. Now, instead of defining the group based on dress code or political views, aim for creating commonality through a shared mission. Now, this won't work if you dictate the shared mission. But if you instead let people be a meaningful part of the process of defining the organization's mission, it becomes important to them, and thus a very meaningful and efficient way of achieving commonality. So, just as culture creates process, commonality creates culture. Or more precisely, if you get commonality right, creating the right culture becomes orders of magnitude easier, and in turn makes it so much more probable that you will end up with the right processes. So, those were my 3 very condensed tenets of how to motivate people in an organization. Trust, mastery, and commonality. I hope this will at least create an interesting starting point for a dialogue, a discussion. As always, I'm John, and I know nothing. Thank you for your time.